When you make the decision to try backpacking, there are a lot of questions that people usually have, especially about what gear they should bring. I'm going to cover some of those basics in this video. The backcountry is an amazing place and can take you on the greatest adventures of your life, but being prepared is essential. Backpacking has no age restriction, and the world has endless trails to discover. Helen Keller said it right: life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all.
So the first question that people ask when they're going to go backpacking is, what gear do I need to bring with me? So let's cover some of those basics right now.
Let's start with the backpack. There are so many different sizes that it can get confusing as to what you need. This is an example of a large pack, 90 liters. It's great for weekend, week-long, or even longer trips. What I like best about this pack is it's got really heavy-duty hip straps, so it makes covering a lot of miles on the trail a little bit more comfortable. One thing you do want to make sure that you look for when you are selecting a pack is that it does have an internal frame on it. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to carry heavy loads. Here's a little information on packs and different sizes for different trips. But I would suggest you visit a local outfitter. Here in Rochester, we have REI. Their staff is very knowledgeable and they're able to help you select a pack that's right for you. I've had this pack here for 20 years and it's great. Once you find a pack that fits you well, you just want to stick with it. Let's cover our hydration system. This includes how we're going to carry our water and also how we're going to treat our water in the backcountry. Two ways I have here to carry your water is either using a reservoir, which I prefer because it fits nicely in the lid of my pack, and then a straw comes right over my shoulder, so I don't have to take my pack off to access water. You can also carry Nalgene bottles. You just have to take your pack off when you want to access the water. I find Nalgene bottles are better during the winter time because the straw on the reservoir can sometimes freeze. Two ways I have here that you can treat your water is either using the Aquamira drops or using a hand pump. The Aquamira drops are a little bit cheaper, they're smaller to carry, but sometimes people will complain there's an aftertaste to them. You also have to wait about 20 minutes before you can drink the water after treating it. The hand pump though, well, it takes a little bit more to work and it's a little bit bulkier to carry, but you can drink the water right away. The filter does have to be replaced every once in a while, but there is no difference in the taste. So this is everything that I carry with me for my kitchen. Let's start in the back with the bear canister there. I do most of my backpacking in the Adirondack Mountains, and bear canisters are required from April through October. So that's a pretty big bear canister that will hold food for 2 people for about 3 days. Next to that, I have a small backpacking stove. I'll cover more about stoves a little later, but that's just a fuel canister that goes along with it. Next, I've got my insulated cup. I always carry an insulated cup for a hot drink, either in the morning or at night. Then I've got my food bowl. It's just an old piece of Tupperware. The nice thing about the lid is when I go to clean my bowl, I can just put some hot water in the bowl, put the lid on, and shake it, and it cleans it nicely. I like to carry this set of fork, knife, and spoon. Some people will just carry a knife or just a spoon and a fork, but this is pretty nice to have all 3 of these, and this is a harder plastic, so I can stir my hot food with it in the pot and I don't have to worry about it melting. It's easy to find one of those at your local outfitter. I'll also carry 2 pots with me usually, and 1 lid. Usually I only have 1 lid on the, or 1 pot on the stove at the time, so 1 lid is needed. And then I just cut this sponge in half. Sometimes, you know, the noodles will stick to the bottom of the pan, so it's nice to have that scrubber. You don't need a full sponge, so if you just cut it in half, it's a good way to save on space too. Navigation is super important in the backcountry. I always carry a map with me, a compass, and sometimes I'll have that GPS. It's nice to have the GPS if you can load the maps in there, but they're not always reliable because they're based on satellites and also batteries. But having a map of where you're hiking and also a compass and knowing how to use those, that is essential for travel. So next we have our shelter and our sleep system. So shelter is a tent right there. And then you've got the sleep system, which I use a Thermarest sleeping pad that I inflate.
and also a sleeping bag. You might be saying to yourself at this point, wow, she really likes that burnt orange color. And I do like it, but it's sort of coincidence that they happen to be all the same color. So some other essentials you want to bring out there with you, sun protection for one, so the sunscreen, lip balm, sunglasses, just a baseball cap, and also a headlamp. You should always carry a headlamp with you, even when you're hiking on a day hike. You never know if your hike's going to last a little bit longer than you had anticipated, but you definitely don't want to be out there with some sort of illumination. And a med kit, of course, is very, very important. You also want to make sure that you know how to use the things in your med kit. Blisters are usually the biggest thing that we fight when we're on the trail, so some sort of blister covering is really important to have inside that med kit. So one set of shoes here probably makes sense, and you're probably thinking what I'm going to do with the other pair. Having a good pair of hiking boots is so important when you're on the trail. This is the #1 culprit of blisters. If you don't have a pair that fits you correctly, or if you're not wearing a pair that is broken in. There's a lot of different options out there, so you just sometimes have to try a couple of different ones and see what fits you right. Those are camp shoes. They're nice and lightweight, but when you get into camp after backpacking all day, it's nice to take those hiking boots off and to put on a comfy pair of shoes. Now that I've gone over the essentials of what to bring with you on your backpacking trip, I'm going to show you how we fit it all into our backpack. So when you're packing your pack, you want to think about the ABCs of backpacking. A, accessibility, B, balance, and C, compression. So accessibility, what does that mean? Well, what am I going to need access to when I'm hiking along? I'm clearly not going to need access to all my sleeping gear. So let's start there. So that sleeping pad that I showed you before, I put it into this compression sack here. So I'm going to put this right at the bottom of my pack. And remember how big my sleeping bag was before? I put into this nice compression stuff sack here. These are awesome. These make packing your pack a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and again put this right in the bottom of my pack. Now I'm going to start to think about the pieces of my tent. I know I'm not going to need them until I really get to camp. So I'm going to start with my tent poles because those fit nicely right along the inside of my pack. And I'm starting to think about that compression. And I'm feeling in my pack and I'm starting to feel some air pockets in there. So that tent that I showed you, that was pretty big. So I'm probably going to be backpacking with 2 or 3 other people with the size of that tent. So if that's the case, probably some of my tent mates are going to have other pieces of the tent. So let's just say I have the tent itself. So I'm going to take it out of that bag and start to stuff it into those air pockets that exist at the bottom of my pack. Think about compression, right? So you want to fill all of those spaces as much as you can. Now you don't want your heaviest materials to be at the bottom of your pack. That's really going to dig into the back of your back. All right, so I've got that compressed in there pretty well. Not a lot of space. So from here, I'm going to start to think about the heavy things right in the middle part of my back. So the heaviest piece that I'm going to carry is probably my beer canister. This is normally going to be filled with food, so it's going to be pretty heavy. So I'm going to put that in next, right in the middle of my pack. So I'm starting to again feel down, what can I fit into those spaces? I know I'm not going to need my stove. Or a fuel canister until I get to camp. So I'll bury that right in there. Same thing along with my cup. And I put my bowl and my fork and my spoon right inside the pots, and I can slide that right in there next. Starting to feel a little bit of a hole there, so I'm going to look for my camp shoes. I know I can fit one right in there. Push that down. Still have a ton of space in here. I've got my
air canister in there. I take a look at the spacing that I have. It looks like a good spot to fit my med kit. I'm still able to have easy access to it if I need it. It's not too far down. Next, my water filter, and I can get that pretty easily. Might throw an extra Nalgene bottle in there. It's good for actually getting the water out of the stream. Got an extra Nalgene bottle that I can also put on the outside pocket. And then this is just a compression sack with some extra clothes in it. So if I find as I'm hiking along I might need an extra shirt, it's easy access. And going along with those extra layers, just in case we get some weather, this isn't too far from the top. Pull that nice and tight. Zipper up my side pockets here. If there's anything extra I need to put in there towards the end, I can do that. Attach the lid. And then in the lid, I like to put my hydration system. Anything else I'll need easy access to. So my sunscreen, extra batteries, my lid, my sunglasses, all here. I also like to put my headlamp in there and access that easily. My Aquamina. My navigation, I usually have right on me. And if I don't want to carry it right in my pocket, then I can put it on an outside lid or outside pocket here. And then someone that I'm traveling with, if need be, can just hand it to me. This is usually going to be right on me though. So one thing to remember is you don't want your backpack to look like a Christmas tree. So you don't want thinking of ornaments hanging off the outside. You don't want shoes and water bottles hanging off the outside. They're more apt to get caught on trees. So get as much as you can inside the pack. Okay, I'm getting excited. It's almost time to hit the trail. But before we do that, now that we've got this bag all packed up, we've got to safely get it onto our shoulders. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen all the straps and I'm going to later tighten when it's on me. We got our shoulder straps, our upper load lifters, our hip belt, and then our lower load lifters. So remember, this pack weighs at least 50 pounds. So you don't just want to reach down and grab it up onto your shoulders. That's a good way to hurt your lower back. So safe way to do it is to reach down using your legs, bring the bottom of the pack and rest it right on your knee. Then you could reach up towards the top of the pack, there's a handle up there usually, and pull that pack using your whole body up onto your thigh. Now you can safely get your shoulders under the shoulder straps. I'm going to start to adjust these straps. So the first strap that I'm going to adjust is the hip belt. So the key with that is getting the hip belt above your hips. And now I can pull it tightly. It does make a huge difference if it's not above your hips. I'm feeling most of the weight of the pack into my hips, and if you turn, you can see there's a big space between my back and the pack. So in order to fix that, I'm gonna pull those shoulder straps nice and tight. That's a little bit better, but I'm still not done. Third strap I like to tighten are these load lifters up here. And this is really gonna make a difference, and it pulls the top of that pack right to your shoulders. That's much better. Still a few more to go. Next one is our chest strap. That's gonna help secure the pack to your body. I can tighten that a little bit. And then lastly, you've got these straps right on the side, these lower load lifters that are gonna pull the lower part of your pack to your body. That's feeling pretty comfortable. So remember, throughout the hike, you might have to adjust the straps on your pack a little bit, just depending on your comfort level. So if your hips need a little bit of a break, don't be afraid to just loosen that hip belt a little bit. And now your shoulders are taking most of the weight. But when you start out, tighten all those straps down and you're ready to go. All right, let's hit the trail.